The Center for Audit Quality presents Profession in Focus.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of Profession in Focus. I'm Cindy Fernelli, the Executive Director of the Center for Audit Quality, and I'm very pleased to have with me here today Douglas Carmichael. Doug is the Claire and Eli Mason Professor of Accountancy at Baruch's College Business School. He's also a CPA and a certified fraud examiner. So welcome to you, Doug.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So Doug, it's hard to believe that this year will mark the 15th anniversary of the passage of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which of course is a landmark piece of legislation that had profound impacts on the public company auditing profession. One of the most, I think, important aspects of Sarbanes-Oxley was the creation of the PCAOB. And you had the distinct pleasure of serving as the first chief auditor and director of professional standards at the newly created PCAOB. What was it like being in such an important role in a new organization, a new regulatory organization?
Well, to start with, I have to say it was an honor to get the job. There were a lot of people that applied, a lot of partners from major firms, and so I was honored to get it. I think two words probably capture it. It was challenging and gratifying. Challenging because a lot had to be done in a very short period of time. I had to build a research staff for the Division of Professional Standards and work with the inspectors, setting up their programs, and try to at the same time, meet the mandates of the SOX legislation, which called for standards on audits of internal control and audit documentation and engagement quality review. And certainly the most challenging of those was audits of internal control. That hadn't really been done before. There were some similar things, but the idea of an auditor giving an opinion on the effectiveness of a client's internal control over financial reporting was really new. So it was something that we had a pressing deadline on, and those standards had to be created relatively quickly.
Well, in my opinion, and in many, many other people's opinion, Sarbanes-Oxley has certainly met the test of time and has proven itself to be a very helpful and robust piece of legislation that has improved the financial reporting process. I'm curious what you think the greatest benefits, some of the key benefits of Sarbanes-Oxley were and are.
Well, I'd have to agree with what you said at the start, that creation of the PCAOB was the main contribution, mainly because it's a living organization that can adapt with the times. I found it gratifying to be there as the chief auditor because even when the organization was very small, or particularly when it was small and growing, everyone there was dedicated to the mission and very enthusiastic and eager to pitch in and get the job done, whether it was their job description or not. And I think one of the things about that mission is that there's just one organization that is focused on maintaining and improving audit quality. And it can bring together the professional standards, the inspection of practice to see how those standards are being applied and what needs to be improved, and the enforcement division, just in case those standards aren't met. So having all those together in the same organization, focused on audit quality, and particularly trying to work with the firms not only in the standards and their policy, but their attitudes, to refocus on investor protection, not so much focus on helping our clients achieve their objectives, but instead focus on as the Supreme Court said, the investing public is what the auditor owes allegiance to. And that allegiance to the investing public is extremely important. I think the PCAOB is focused on achieving that.
I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because while we have you here, I do want to talk to you about fighting fraud. And as I mentioned, you're a certified fraud examiner. You have done numerous investigations of financial fraud to companies and even federal agencies. So I'd like to focus a little bit on that and get your perspectives about how technology has changed fraud deterrence and detection.
Well, technology has changed. So the IT capabilities have made it possible to deal with a massive amount of data and check for things. The key example would be something that overlaps both audits of financial statements and forensic investigations, and that would be identifying year-end journal entries created in the financial reporting process that can be used to readily mistake the financial statements. And once the auditor or the fraud investigator has access to the client's computerized general ledger, those transactions are no longer hidden. And the auditor or fraud investigator, instead of having to try to select journal entries, can look at every one of them and run them up against criteria of the types of transactions that have been known to be involved in fraud schemes. But right there with the importance of technology, I think, is the attitude of people, because it's the mindset more than anything else, that the right mindset focus on fraud, how can we prevent it, how can we detect it, that is probably even more important than any IT contribution.
Yes, we talk a lot about that at the CAQ and our talent initiative, that those that predict that the demise of auditors are wrong because of the use of technology and the availability of information, all the more that you need good judgment, good analytical skills to look at all of those various pieces of data that are now available at the touch of a button.
Definitely. Past experience has shown us that it's almost impossible to just look at someone and evaluate them and say, this is a fraudster. That's just not possible. So that's why the mindset and what you hear all the time, professional skepticism, is so important. And thinking about, how could I be deceived? What could be going on here that I wouldn't think of ordinarily that I need to look for.
Excellent. Any other technologies or tools that our viewers should be aware of?
I think there are various software packages, but I don't want to recommend particular.
Not going to do an advertisement.
That are very useful in fraud detection. But it's more the development of a group focused on fraud, people with forensic talents that are both in their own consulting firms and important groups in the CPA firms that can assist on audits and can conduct separate fraud investigations, assisting audit committees and the attorneys that they've hired.
Excellent. Well, Doug, thank you so much for your time and your insights. It's been quite a pleasure. And thank all of you for joining us for this edition of Profession in Focus.